Right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Hope we're all good. Hope we're all thriving. Fucking having a great time while we're here on this planet, smashing our goals, making other people around us happy, and all the above. Right, so this episode is going to be inspired by actually a conversation I had with a member this morning. Hey, Tor, shout out to you, brother. In one of the morning classes, and it was basically about class structure and how I would structure a class if I was going to program for it, or how I was going to structure a class if I'm, taking for personal training as well. So this is not only going to be for coaches; it can be for athletes as well and members, but also for trainers for the one-on-one side as well. You can adapt it and use the template for one-on-one clients. First off, for me, it starts before the 1 hour. It starts before, or maybe 90 minutes of the session. It starts before the class. It starts before the appointment, the schedule. It's the 15 to 30 minutes before the class that you come in. You make sure everything's spick and span. The lights are on. Everything's clean and tidy. Things are in its right position and its right place, and the stuff is already written up, so they know what they're going to do as soon as they come in. The music's on very low, just so it's not dead silent. It takes that little pinch out of the air, but it's not going to take it away from the coach talking. One of my pet peeves is the music being loud and the coach is trying to talk. Obviously, they're going to have to start shouting, and if you're in a gym all the time, like we inevitably will shout quite a lot. So just to save the coach's voice and be a little bit more respectful of the coach, just turn it dead low, just to take the like I said, the pinch out of the air and it being dead silent, but also quiet enough for the coach to just be able to talk at a normal volume. So yeah, it starts before. Like you don't have to get to the gym 30 minutes before. I like being half hour early. Just in case if shit goes down, if I forget something, which I usually do, I can go back and grab it. If there's a problem at all, I'm still going to be early. I can fix that problem, and I'm still going to be early for the class. But 15 minutes or so before is going to be fine, in my opinion. If you're a coach or a trainer and you're late for the class, then you've got absolutely fuck all excuse. Obviously, some things, freaking natures happen, like traffic or whatever, like it happens. But it's your job to sort of account for all those freaks in nature that might happen, and still be able to get there on time. Especially for the morning, like if you sleep in, like the amount of times, like I might have, my alarm might not have gone off or whatever, but I still got to the gym. I still got there just before the class, or maybe bang on time, and you still got to get there. But being late is not an option, and that's not okay. In my opinion, that's punctuality is number one. You don't take it from your clients and the athletes, so they shouldn't take it from you. You should hold yourself to a standard which is so much higher than you would ever hold anyone else to. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, the class structure starts before the 60 to 90 minutes. It starts before the class. Obviously, if you've got back-to-back clients, it's going to be a little bit different. So I would have got there, before my first client, and I would have set up all the stuff for all my clients. So then I can sort of go from one to the next, and it doesn't really matter because things are already in place. And if they come in, I can say hello, give them a wave, and point to a board, and they've already got a warm-up set up and they know what they're doing, sort of thing. And even if it's a new client, it might just say like 5 minutes on a treadmill, and that just gives you a bit of breathing space, and they're already getting that general warm up in. So first off, say for example we're going to break it down into 60 minutes, all right, just to make the maths a little bit easier. 60-minute class or 60-minute session. Okay, I'm going to do the first anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes is going to be briefing. It's literally just going to be chatting with the members, asking for injuries, asking if they're okay, how the weekend's been, just general chit chat, and also briefing what they're going to do today, why they're going to do it, and the reasons behind it. asking any questions. Usually they don't have any questions straight away because, you know, it's either in the morning and they're tired, or they're stressed out because of work. They just come from work and their brain's not engaged, which is fine. But just always offering, you know, have you got any questions is always a good thing. You know, it just sort of creates a little bit of rapport and get a bit of a back and forth rather than you listen to me sort of thing. So between 3 and 5 minutes, I'll be chatting through that and briefing, just to let them know what we're going to be doing. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'd be going through a warm up, and the warm up isn't just necessarily like 10 to 15 minutes sat on a rower or on a treadmill or whatever. That's going to be broken down into different components. So we've obviously got a general warm up, so a little bit of a pulse raiser just to raise the temperature and get the body moving. And mainly for me, like I don't necessarily do a general warm up for me personally. However, for the members, it's usually I found to switch them on psychologically. So just be like, right, okay, this is what we're doing. We're now ready to listen. We're ready to learn. We're ready to move around, and we're ready to fucking work hard. Obviously, you've got the whole physiological adaptations that occur through temperature, and you know the joints get a little bit more lubricated with synovial fluid, and you know things start moving around, and we're getting a bit active. We're sweating, but mainly for me, the general and the pulse raiser is going to be just right. It's goal time. Let's switch on, sort of thing. And then I would go straight into mobilization. What are we doing that day? Are we squatting? Cool. Let's mobilize our hips. Let's mobilize through our ankles. Let's mobilize through our spine. Let's make sure we're actually being able to control through our pelvis. Let's make sure that everything's working as it should do. You know, we sit down all day. We drive. We fucking do this and that, and things get a little bit tight. Things get a little bit imbalanced. Things get a little bit sticky around the joints. So let's just mobilize it. Let's just move it around. Let's try and work with the range of motion we've got. That's never going to be static stretching. If we are static stretching in the warm up, it's below 30 minutes. So just create a little bit of temporary freeing of that muscle and open it up a little bit. But we don't necessarily want to cause any damage in any long term change in that muscle length, because it will end up affecting, or can end up affecting, your power output for that day. So mobilization and dynamic stretching and things like that are massive for me, and that's what I'd set people through in the warm up. And once they're mobilized, I like to get them activated. You know, so again, using the squat for example, getting their glutes activated to make sure we're putting every step in place to not allow valgus knees to happen. So when we're coming up from a squat, our knees coming inwards, caving inwards. Some people, you know, squat like that, and there is sort of degrees of valgus knees that is okay, and it's not going to cause any injury, and it's going to be asymptomatic, and for those athletes it's going to be sound, it's going to be right. But for the vast majority of the population, it's not something we're seeking for, or it's not optimal for the vast majority of the population. So I'd get them activated first, activated after the mobilization stuff, and then warm-ups are actually really good opportunities to develop a little bit of rapport with the athletes. You know, you can chat a bit of shit. You can ask them how their week's going, how their sort of life's going. You know, you can ask them some deep ass questions. They're like, you know, how's life at the moment? Like, you know, I know a family member's a bit ill. How are they? Sort of thing. And how's the body feeling when we move in this position? How's the head? You know, are we a bit stressed? Are we a little bit down, anxious about things? Like, obviously, I would keep that on the down low, and I would talk to someone in a little bit more private sense. So I wouldn't just blast it out within a class. But again, it just goes back to, you know, you can adapt this to be a one-on-one trainer, and you can just get to know them a little bit more and ask, because we basically have to be a counsellor as well as a coach, and you have to be able to provide that. And you know, if you don't, then I think you're doing them a disservice, and you're also doing yourself a disservice, because you're not going to develop that relationship. And it is a give or take at the end of the day. Like, you will get those clients that will genuinely give a fuck about you and want to help you as well. And being a coach is a very stressful job. Like, we don't get six figures, we don't get the money you deserve. for the stress and the hours you put in and the work you put in, but we do it because we love it. And you have to love it, and you have to give a shit about the person in front of you, and inadvertently they're going to give a shit back. If someone sees on your face that you care about them, then they're going to be massively motivated about that. Not just you saying, "Oh, I care about you," because words can mean shit, but actually going the extra mile time and time and time again, like that is going to push them forward, and they're going to end up doing things for you that you never thought was possible. For an example, like I was living in a flat maybe over a year ago. Actually, the building was on fire, so I was homeless for a while, and one of my PTs actually offered me a brand new flat for as long as I wanted, all bills paid. And you wouldn't have developed that relationship, or if I didn't develop that relationship, that door might not have been opened. I didn't take it, but the point still stands. So in this time, in that warm up time, you've got a beautiful time there to talk to them, develop that relationship. And then you've also got a beautiful time to do a bit of skill transfer, in my opinion. Like, for example, you can warm up and get things activated for a deadlift, but you can coach through a kettlebell swing, like a Russian kettlebell swing, where you're teaching like the gorilla stance rather than the duck stance. So we're a little bit set back. The lats are activated. We've got a neutral spine. We're then snapping our hips open into hip extension through aggressively snapping our squeezing our quads and the glutes at the same time, just like we would want to do in a deadlift. And then controlling that momentum on the way back down, so everything is in alignment, and we can actually teach a different skill, but then it transfers over to something that we're going to do later on in either the skill or either the strength portion of the class or of the session. So being able to use those times and sort of kill two birds with one stone. Like at the end of the day, like we've only got 60 minutes, and you can only do so much in 60 minutes. But if you can do two things at once, and you don't necessarily have to tell them this is why we're doing it. But when they and I like to play a game when the penny drops, I go, exactly, they'll come up and say something. Oh, okay, I get this. I'm like, that's exactly why we did it in the warm up. And they're like, oh shit, that makes sense now. So so again, it's not looking for that admiration, but they're gonna know that you've put a lot more thought into it than meets the eye, rather than just do some kettlebell swings, or let's just do some jumping before we do some ollie lifting. There's a lot more thought that goes into it. There's art in the programming. And then you're going to move on. Then it depends. This is where it's going to get a little bit tricky, because then it depends. You're either going to have a strength or a skill portion. Okay, you could be working on some skill, you could be working on some strength, you could be having accessories. If I was programming for a box, for example, it would undulate during the week or two, depending on the member base, depending on a lot of things really. So that's going to last between 10 and 20 minutes. Maybe half an hour if it is a massive strength day, and then that will obviously finish up the class. And then if you are in a CrossFit environment, or if you're with a client who wants to inadvertently lose some weight, then you're going to have to do some sort of conditioning. Well, you don't have to, of course, but you're probably going to do some sort of conditioning. So some sort of workout of the day, or that WOD that's thrown around quite often. And that'll be the remainder of the time. So that could be anywhere between 10 and maybe half an hour if you've been pretty strict with yourself on your timings. And then to finish up, 5 minutes of just packing up, cooling down, and obviously they can stretch out what they need to, and they can cool down what they need to, after that 60 minutes. And if you've not got anything on and you don't want to leave, then you can talk to them again. You can sit down, just chat. You can have a coffee, you can drink water or whatever, and just chat and get to know each other. You can stretch out with them, or they can stay behind and stretch out as well. But my biggest tip would be to, in time management, would be to have two stopwatches on. I'd regularly walk around with two stopwatches. One had the total time, so as soon as I started, I would click one stopwatch and that would just be in my pocket and that would just go for 60 minutes. And my other one would be started and stopped between each one. So at the start of the class, for example, I'd click both of them. Ones I just forget about and it's in my pocket and I can just revert back to it. Obviously, if you've got a big clock in the room, you can use that. It doesn't really matter. And then my other one I'll stop it once I've finished talking and I've briefed the board and then they've started on their general and I look at it, I'm like, right, okay, it's taken me 4 minutes, I've got a minute to play with, or it's taken me 4 minutes and I needed to be quick. All right, well, I've got to make up a minute somewhere, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more concise. And sort of moving from there, you've got to be able to be fluid, to be honest, and be a little bit adaptive. Sometimes you and the members in front of you are going to be, on the same wavelength, and they're going to understand everything that comes out of your mouth straight away. And then you're going to have days where it's going to be the other way around. Whether it's your fault, whether it's their fault, whether it's both, there's going to be times when it's just not clicking, and it's your job to be able to figure it out and find a way. You might have to demo more, you might have to talk more, you might have to demonstrate more, you might have to draw on the board, you might have to just strip things down and go, okay, no problem, we're going to change things, we're going to go a different way. And then that comes back to the outside study that you've done. You should have multiple drills and skills in your toolbox to be able to pull out at any given time, because this skill that's programmed on the board or this drill that's programmed on the board is not working for this member. They just can't get it, or they don't understand it, or it's too difficult, or it's too easy, and you need to pull it out and go, right, okay, let's adapt on the fly, sort of thing. And you only get that for two reasons: one, experience, like you gain that confidence because you've done it so many times, and two, actually knowing your shit. So again, having that confidence. If you rely on the board and you come in and you just read from the board, then if it doesn't work, you're fucked. You don't have anything to fall back on. So you need those things to be able to pull out those new ribbons, those new tools to be able to pull out that toolbox and then use for different members. The amount of times I've taken a class and I've had like 6 different skills going on at the same time, or different drills, so I should say, going on at the same time, because some members just fucking aren't getting it, or they're in um, completely different skill level, or previous history level, or injury level. This is another one. Like, don't make people do shit that's gonna hurt them. Like, if they've got a past injury or they have low confidence because of an injury or something, you need to be able to accommodate that. It's your fucking job. Yes, you need to be able to do all these things, and yes, you might say, "Oh, but I only get paid X amount an hour." Great, but you made your bed. Now you got to sleep in it. You signed up. You're on that dotted line. Now you got to do your job. And you should be able to sort of adapt on the fly. And if you don't necessarily know some A&P, some anatomy and physiology, then do some external study. And if your gym's not going to sort of fund you for that, then it's shit. I've been there. Like, you've got to sort of plow the money in yourself, and you've got to somehow figure it out. But there's ways of doing it for free. And I don't have a degree, not yet anyway. But I don't have a degree. I couldn't afford it, and it wasn't for me at the time. And there's ways I learned that stuff elsewhere, and in less of a financial burden way, or financially burdened way. So I spent less money. I read a lot. I did a lot. I listened a lot. Like, there's many ways you can learn, and you can actually provide a lot of value for that hour. And I think there's a few sort of goals you should have for that hour, in my opinion. Like, one should be make it the best hour of the day. Obviously, that's not always going to be the case. They might have an absolutely amazing day, but just make someone fucking smile. Like, you have the ability to not only impact their health in a positive way, to improve their mobility, their strength, their self-confidence, their self-belief, but also to put a fucking smile on someone's face, and they entrust you with their body and with their health, and they only ever get one of those, and that to me is the biggest compliment anyone could ever give you, to walk in and go, okay, Alex, like, I trust you with my body. Like, you're only ever going to get one of those, mate. Are you sure you want to entrust me in that? And for if we don't provide the best package, or do it as optimal as we can, then we're doing them a disservice as well as us. And then, obviously you're improving their physicality, their physical health, and you're also helping them mentally as well. Though that mental health, that thing that I'm banging on about all the time, and people struggle. People struggle with stresses. People struggle with feeling really down. People struggle with anxieties. People struggle with maybe learning disabilities and or difficulties, and they don't talk about it because there's a high level of stigma around it. But we have the ability to be able to help them simply through allowing them to express themselves physically. And I think the best compliment I've ever got, period, is seeing someone come in and they're really timid and they have no self-belief, no self-confidence, and they really look at themselves in a negative light, and they leave the place with a beaming smile on their face, and they're full of confidence, and they believe in themselves. They believe that they can conquer the day. They believe that they can achieve what they want to achieve, and literally they'll be okay until they come back tomorrow and then they get it again. Like, that is the best compliment. You don't have to say thank you. You don't have to get me flowers or some shit. Like, that is the best compliment. Just seeing someone walk out of that gym with a massive smile on their face, and we just help you do that through physical fitness, through physical expression, as I call it, or as I say for it. And there we have it, guys. Another episode of the AT Fit podcast done and dusted. We are episode number 30 in. 30 episodes in. That's fucking mental. Just want to finish up by saying thank you very much for all the support, all the sharing, all the likes, all the following on Spotify, on what's it called, iTunes, on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. I really do appreciate all of it. If you have any topics, fucking bang it over to me and I will chat some shit about it. Yeah, enjoy yourself, enjoy your day, bring a smile to someone's face, and that will in turn bring a smile to yours. Take it easy, team, have fun, be happy, and enjoy yourself. Peace.